Hey guys, years and years ago, I made a video, in fact a series of videos on Snagglepuss, the East Coast Bronx freestyle battle rapper known for being down with Doo-Wop and the Bounce Squad on all his classic mixtapes. And, I sort of made each video on his, series of guest spots and rare appearances he did over the years, culminating in sort of his new comeback album, new at the time, I think it was like 2010. That's how long ago this was. And essentially that was like the comprehensive coverage of Snagglepuss, because he never really actually had any proper albums. It was all like guest spots and mixtape appearances and everything. So down with like appearing with like Brand Nubian, Pudgy the Fat Bastard, and I even talked about the fake Snagglepuss, i.e. When WC, as in WC in the Mad Circle, then later down with the West Side Connection with Ice Cube and all that, he did a record rapping as Snagglepuss, i.e. the cartoon character who the rapper I'm talking about, Snagglepuss, based his voice and flow on, as in the Hanna-Barbera character. I talked about all this in my old videos. Find those. But essentially, the old Hanna-Barbera cartoon, the Pink Cat, he had a unique way of talking in a very distinct voice and, a lot of catchphrases. And Snagglepuss didn't really do the catchphrases, but he definitely sounded like him. He flowed like him. He did the voice. I think he sort of has a voice somewhat like Snagglepuss, but then he absolutely 100% leans into it and raps like Snagglepuss. So he's doing a Snagglepuss impression. And depending on the song, sometimes it's a little bit harder, sometimes it's a little bit less, but it always definitely kind of sounds like Snagglepuss, but it works. Like, it sounds like a terrible idea, especially to base your career on. To do like a novelty record, like remember that Top Cat record that came out ages ago? That's sort of a fun novelty record. It fit in very well with like the early 80s kind of stuff where you had people like the Cartoon Crew and, like Fresh Gordon doing lots of themes based on like, the soundtrack to, Gilligan's Island and all that kind of stuff, and just sort of turning into electronic hip-hop music. And, the sequence were singing like McDonald's commercials in their songs and all is a very kind of eclectic 80s hip-hop era, and it kind of fit in with that. But for a 90s rapper, because that's what we're talking about now with Snagglepuss, he was, the mid-90s, the pinnacle of the 90s, when lyricism was becoming a thing, when Public Enemy had already like blown up and, like selling out was a big question also. To sort of call yourself Snagglepuss and lean into this cartoon character sounds like a terrible idea on paper. But because Snagglepuss the MC himself was really talented, he was really clever, he had a great flow, he had a great natural voice and great delivery, and the fact that this cartoon character's voice and all was such a sort of loquacious, smart, clever character, that it actually kind of worked to adopt it into a legit hip-hop flow. Sort of like Dana Dane when he put on like a fake British accent, but it sounded so good you didn't care. But I'm not going to explain who he is anymore, because like I said, there's a series of old videos I've already done documenting all of that. But I'm back to talk about Snagglepuss again because we got more music. I found more, so here we're going to delve into it, and we're going to start off with this Sounds of 96 on Rap-A-Lot Records and New Tribe Records. And this is a promo-only tape, which has a unique, lost Snagglepuss song on it. So I don't know how well you can read it, like try to get into focus. It doesn't matter, I'll put it up in like still store for you so you can see it properly. That Snagglepuss song is, as it says right there, from his forthcoming album. Album never happened. What is the story about a forthcoming Snagglepuss album? Again, in 1996. Well, if you really remember your Snagglepuss trivia pretty well, the Bounce Squad, Doo-Wop's group, was signed to New Tribe, and they put out a single with Snagglepuss on it in the 90s on New Tribe. So their deal kind of dissolved, they kind of split up, and so New Tribe just took Snagglepuss as a solo artist. And so he was going to put out a whole album, and he went to the West Coast, he recorded some stuff. There's a great interview with Uncut that tells the whole story. He hooked up with people like Loonies and Exhibit, and he's going to do this whole kind of thing of sort of slightly more West Coast instrumentals, but still very hardcore and still very New York, East Coast lyrical. And I'm going to play this. It sounds really dope, and it sounds just like I'm saying, like slightly more West. It doesn't really sound terribly West Coast to me. Definitely not like if you're thinking like G-Funk in 90s, it's definitely more hardcore than that and kind of boom bap. Snagglepuss is kind of killing it, although maybe not. His flow here isn't quite as good maybe as some of his other stuff, but it's really tight. It's really good. I would have loved to hear this album. Unfortunately, he never finished the album. He moved back to New York. It's lost. He recorded a bunch of stuff, but I'm guessing, this isn't in the interviews or anything anymore, but I'm conjecture he probably doesn't have any of this material, so we'll probably never get to hear it. It's probably tied up in the vaults of New Tribe / Rap-A-Lot, and they'll never put it out, especially since it's an incomplete album. It's just a whole bunch of recorded tracks. So unfortunately, it's probably lost to history, except for what we're going to hear here. And by the way, cool promo tape find, for the Snagglepuss song, otherwise completely uninteresting. And you might say, Werner, uninteresting? I mean, look at this track listing. Gangsta Nip, definitely not uninteresting. Shaheem is on here. You say, 3-2, isn't he the guy from the Convicts? That's dope. Yeah, but it's not interesting because everybody else's album came out. So, the Gangsta Nip, the 3-2, all these songs, Black Menace, they're all on their albums. So, who cares? There's one R&B song here which is only released on a promo CD single, if you care about that at all. But even that kind of came out. Snagglepuss is the only on-release song, and by sheer coincidence, or ironically, it's actually the most interesting, most compelling song. Although, I guess the Black Menace song on here are pretty dope. So it's not the only good song or anything. But nowadays, in 2021, looking back, you get this for Snagglepuss. That's what's exciting. So let's play this right now. So this is the Lost Snagglepuss song from his Lost Snagglepuss album from 1996. It would have been on New Tribe Rap Block Records. They don't have all these others that have titles for the albums. They just are generally forthcoming for Snagglepuss because I guess he didn't even have a title yet. But anyway, so here we go.
You raise hell, you ain't raising shit here in my square. Don't you dare from there, you can't bear with me. I put it all through your vest. No thing but a chicken wing, nothing less than a breast. I told them I was unfamiliar. They got that. Recognize I was level, and now they jack. It's on like a lamb, niggas better lamb. Unfamiliar's coming, niggas watching you. Coming from NYC, Concession AG, with the raps to get around like HIV. Ask a hippie, and he'll be like, Snag is groovy. Plus the movie, I'm fresh like the movie. See the scammers I roll up, make me bug out. So if you ain't down for whatever, get the fuck out. Shit stick, but I still freak a song right. To make you give it up like a virgin on prom night. Damn it, if this was wrestling, you couldn't slam it. I rock like granite, so shut the fuck up and can it. Snag is the kid your girl ran a mouth for. Cause I get mine like a klepto and candle. Hold your own, cause you can't do me nothing. That's the sound of real niggas not frontin'. That's the sound when the honeys get down. That's the sound of the cat.
So there you go, a little bit more of the musical history of Snagglepuss. Dope. Definitely wish we could have heard more of it, but at least we got that. But I got a little bit more to talk about in this video. A brand new comeback Snagglepuss album. Boom, maybe an EP, 8 songs, all short songs. None of the songs are longer than 3 minutes. The average is probably 2 minutes and 15 seconds. So, pretty short songs, but not short songs, not single verses or anything. They're fully conceived songs. And really, well, let's get into it. Bronx Dundee, so titled because obviously Snagglepuss is from the Bronx, and it's with producer Ramsey, who is from Australia. So Bronx Dundee. And that's not the Ramsey who is down with the Suicide Posse or anything from New Jersey. This is a different guy from Australia. He's fairly prolific. I'm not too familiar with his stuff. I do remember seeing one of his music videos several years ago. It was thrown on UGS Mag or something like that. It was pretty dope. I liked it. So I sort of recognized the name when I saw this coming out. But obviously, I just new Snagglepuss album, gotta have it. So this is a brand new album. Like I said, it's really an EP on cassette, obviously. In fact, it's on a pink cassette, 100% appropriate because, of course, Snagglepuss, the cat, the cartoon character, is pink. And it's on Rap Records. Came out sort of the end of 2020, early 2021. I think it's technically 2020, but you probably couldn't have actually gotten your hands on it until this year. Certainly, it's shipping from Australia, so for me to get it, I didn't get until well into 2021. And this is really dope. I was pleasantly surprised by his comeback album in my last series of videos, which I think was maybe 2010. Because you never know. An old school rapper who's disappeared for years and years and sort of makes a comeback and now he's online, it could be awful. You don't know who he's working with production-wise. A lot of people don't make that comeback at all. Snagglepuss still sounded dope. He sounded enough like the old school Snagglepuss, but he didn't sound like he was stuck in the 90s. Everything was kind of working. And as much as that worked and I was impressed with it, even more so this is way better even. And that's not a knock on that album. That's just, he's really killing it now. This is as strong as anything. This is better, I think, than the song I just played you from Sounds of 96. It's 8 songs, all produced by Ramsey. Well, 7 songs produced by Ramsey. He has a pretty lush kind of cinematic sound to it, lots of kind of vibrant samples, very kind of hardcore and tough, which works with Snagglepuss because he's got this kind of joke, he's full of punchlines. That's his big thing from the doo-wop tapes is tons of clever punchlines. So he's kind of jokey. He's already doing, Snagglepuss, the cartoon cat, act. So, if you lean into that too far and make sort of upbeat, silly music, you go too far, you go over the edge and you lose it. This fortunately knows that and does the opposite, pulls back and goes sort of very hardcore, but not also crazy grimy to the point where like all songs start to sound the same. Lots of interesting samples and stuff on this. So it's really just a perfect match. It's well produced, but then also on top of that, it's an ideal match for Snagglepuss, who comes with it brilliantly. He's got lots of great punchlines again, just like from the 90s. Still lots of clever ones. He doesn't sound dated. He's like, everything you wanted from Snagglepuss is back, but at the same time, he sounds updated and, like as hungry and raw as ever. It's a really solid EP. It is lots of punchlines, which, can get a little, I remember actually fairly recently, I gave another rapper a pretty hard time for his punchlines in a review. A, he has better punchlines. B, it's appropriate because you're sort of hungering for you buy this now, you want to hear classic Snagglepuss, so if he didn't have any punchlines, you'd be like, what the hell? So you got to have him. He does them really well. But with that said, there's one song on here called One Stone, which I think is actually the best song, and all the rest of the songs are like freestyle rhymes, battle rhymes, exactly what you would expect from Snagglepuss and exactly what you want from Snagglepuss, and if they weren't there, you'd be really disappointed. But the song One Stone is much more serious, much darker, even instrumentally too, but very kind of serious, no jokes at all, kind of a straight narrative rap. Like, it on the surface, it's about murder. It's about, one guy kills his neighbor. It's definitely sort of a metaphor, sort of like kind of about like black on black crime and people sort of being set against each other in a society where, like we're generally being oppressed by the 1%, however you want to look at it in that kind of tone. It's definitely sort of all about that, but in a very dark, serious, and he kills it. And again, the production works perfectly with it. So that song's amazing, but the rest of the songs are more fun, more into the kind of what you would expect maybe from Bronx Dundee with a cartoon character. But again, not this jokey. Jokey, but still legitimate hip-hop and raw, and it all works. And so, like I said, this is an 8-song EP. It's a limited edition cassette. Obviously, and because it's on Bandcamp, it's streaming online, and you can get the MP3s on every service in the world. I'm not too interested in MP3s, but they do exist. But I have to point out, the cassette has 8 tracks. The online versions all have 7. There's the final bonus track on the cassette is unique to the cassette. The only way you can hear it. It's not on their Bandcamp or anything. And it's really dope. It's actually a remix of One Stone. It's by this guy named Gecko, or Phil Gecko. He has a bunch of aliases. I think I would say even better than the Ramsey version. Certainly both are fantastic. This one's a little bit more lush with samples. I was worried when I heard exclusive remix by some kind of guy named Phil who I'd never heard of. Like maybe it's going to be some sort of like techno, whatever, garbage remix I don't care anything for. No, it's nothing like that. Raw hip hop. It matches the seriousness of the previous song, although not quite as dark, but it doesn't need to be because the song's already pretty dark. Like I said, it's very rich, got some really nice samples and stuff, so it's really dope. I think I like it a little bit better, but I might have to listen to this album like 1,000 more times to really make a decision because it's a close call. They're both different. They both work. They play like 2 different songs, except for obviously lyrically it's the same. Either way, I absolutely 100% recommend this album. This is great. In fact, in between that comeback album he did in like 2010 and this, Snagglepuss has stayed busy. He's had a couple more online only, MP3 only albums. I listened to one of them, but he's had more than one of them. They were all pretty good. This is better. I think there's a reason why this got a physical release and those didn't. I think they realized like this is a solid project that needs to come out. This is really great. And especially, I think it really holds up to repeated re-listens. When I first listened to it, I'm like, okay, am I going to hear some of the punchlines once instead of like be amused or not amused as much as I am, and that's it? No, I just listen to this over and over and over again. It actually kind of works at the short songs. It just, everything works. It's no other way to explain it. So I'm going to play some clips now. Again, Bronx Dundee, Snagglepuss' new album just came out on Rap Records. Get it if you can on the cassette, because again, it has the bonus track, and just because it's a legit physical release. But if you can't, at least, it does exist online. So here we go. Bronx Dundee, Snagglepuss. He's back. He never left. He's still around. He's on Twitter. I follow him. Hopefully he just keeps doing more stuff. All right. Check it out. Till next time.
Crucified.
The ex-convict that might poke ya. I don't fuck with Al Roker or watch Oprah. Won't see me dancing a jig, I'm too militant. Mama said I write poetry, not ignorance. Rap change, I refuse to adapt to it. Please stop tagging me with your trap music. Caught up with material shit. How's it Myron Whips? Gonna help you start a fire with sticks. My rap speaks for itself, I ain't gotta brag. Know a whole lot of celebrities, I ain't gotta tag. I still serve beef to plant eaters in the hood. I walk with the stick like band leaders. Come on, I'm grown now, the respect is all mutual. Anything other than that, plan your funeral. No love like the orphanage. I'm from the Bronx, where it's cold and dark, like the coffin is. Such and such just went live, I'm like, who is he? I ain't with supporting the rat like Walt Disney, when all I really want is a Corona in the blunt. I came to kill shit and leave the body in the trunk. For breakfast, a bowl of cereal and some crunches. Same for dinner, I had to roll with the punches. My vowels, got them all tossing in the towels. I move the crowd, all you do is move bowel. Custodian the way I do dirt. Daily, it's work. The burner like my ex, she'll squirt. So it's unethical for you to test the flow. Still colder than the homeless Eskimo. Heard of the insane ones? Well, we're the same ones. The hills have eyes, and that's where we came from. I creep while my enemy is asleep. You think it's something sweet? Then let's go skinny dipping in Wolf's Creek. Yo, could've been another bloody murder in this bitch. My neighbor just bumped me with the burner on his hips. Now I'm thinking he doesn't like me. Spitting image of my little brother wanna fight me. But I know what it might be. You're angry at the world and I'm the only one your eyes see here, right? Now that's a crime of proximity. Not really black on black, study the enemy. You know they use trickery, vaccines to get my check, now that's the end of me. Love and loyalty to please me. Big heartbeat in my chest, it bruised easy. Your life ain't meant for the can. You killed your brother, then realized you played into their hands. With the exception of very few, squad music will bury you. Might come through, pop bottles at the burial. You're a walk in the park, and I'm a scandal. I tore shortbread, and these birds get handled. Kicked off the porch young, I built a bigger one. Like a fashion show, I just watch the figures come. Breaking news, bring smoke to interviews. On cue, blow your top, Ramsey, lit the fuse. I'm straight from the X, but I'm 1G, the concrete jungle. I'm Crocodile Dundee, time for me to settle down, no more dating. Thick chick with me, this black mixed with Asian. I got love out the basement. Is he rich? Is he famous? On top of decline payments? Shank ya. That's a better deal than the blammer. Wankster might give him a wedgie on camera.